What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Kings of Tennessee podcast. I'm here as always with my co-host Billy Derrick. Billy, you got to go to the Wake Forest Vanderbilt game this week. We were talking about it before. How did the trip go, and how was your weekend, buddy?
It's a great weekend. It was a fun trip. During the trip, I look over at my buddy Joey Dwyer and I go, "Man, we're really stupid for doing this." Like mid drive at night, it's pouring down, driving through the Smoky Mountains. But so it's a lot. That trip's a lot easier during the day to make. So Friday night was a little bit of an adventure, but no, it was fun. I've never been to that facility. It's a beautiful facility in Winston-Salem, a beautiful campus. I love North Carolina, that area. There, of course, there's a lot of rain, as you know. It got delayed with some lightning, and then it was a torrential downpour. So we ended up staying Saturday night and then making the drive back Sunday. But no, it was good. Vanderbilt didn't fare as well as we did on the fun trip, but I'm sure we'll get into that. And Tennessee, the Vols also had a little bit of a shaky performance against Austin Peay. So I'm looking forward to hopping into all of it.
It was honestly, a very fun week too. We had some big games. We had a big upset that was, I think, but for both of us, very fun to watch. We were both happy with that
Mm-hmm.
outcome. I know my bank account was. Thank you, Texas, for really helping me out over the weekend, kind of saving my weekend in terms of pick 'em and stuff. But we have, Billy, not gonna lie, looking at this week three slate, I've heard a lot of people talking about it. Not very good. Which we
Yeah.
will get into that in our pick 'em here in just a minute. But this week is kind of down. Not as fun. I think we're the main event, which says something because the team we're playing is doggy doo doo. But it still makes me nervous, and we both will get to preview our teams as we both have pretty tight contested games this weekend, according to Vegas. So Billy, I want to start with a brand new segment. I know we did headlines last week, but I wanted to bring back something from our childhood that we used to watch after college football on College Football Countdown. Helmet stickers. That was always the most fun thing to watch as a kid. I don't know why. Just seeing the helmet on the table
Yeah.
and then putting stickers on it was great. It was always a fun time. So we are bringing back helmet stickers. Uh, the rules for helmet stickers, you can have a player or you can have a team. Let's mix it up a little bit and give us a team as well. So Billy, for your four helmet stickers from week two, give us your rundown on who the top performers were in your mind from this past weekend.
They got to start with Texas, Chase. I mean, as a team, I could go just Quinn Ewers there, but the Longhorns went into Tuscaloosa and just manhandled Alabama, 34-24. They threw haymakers late in the game that Alabama just couldn't respond from, and Nick Saban, they kept cutting to him on the sideline, and he really didn't have an answer. I mean, it didn't look like the same Nick Saban that we're used to seeing. It's almost like he just sort of accepted the fact that Texas was a better team and the more physical team, which we're not used to seeing. And how about Quinn Ewers' performance? He looks like a new man, especially with that haircut. He's dropping bombs on Alabama's defense, 349 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, he attacked All-American Kool-Aid McKinstry often, early and often, which I thought was really impressive. So you got to give it to Texas and that performance in Tuscaloosa. Now the challenge for them is seeing if they can, if they can keep this rolling in the Big 12, because that's been the challenge. Last year they should have beaten Alabama, but then they ended up losing a few games in the Big 12. So I think the challenge for Texas is, taking this on the road, against a Texas Tech or an Oklahoma State, and actually coming up with big Big 12 wins. So yeah, that's what I'm watching, but that's my first helmet sticker, Chase, the Texas Longhorns.
That was such a fun game to watch. And Quinn Ewers shocked me. I was kind of high on him coming into the season, but I know after last year that it was kind of an up and down year. Finished strong, but looking back, the reason I was so high on Texas for this game is if Ewers doesn't get hurt last year with that shoulder injury, they probably win that game as well. because it was a 1 point finish with a backup quarterback. So Bama could be looking at an 0-2 hole to their new future conference opponent, but 1-1, and I think we're going to get a lot more of this matchup going forward, and I'm very excited about that. I'm going to take a page out of your book, and I will go player specific from the Texas Longhorns. Give me Adai Mitchell. Adai Mitchell is a transfer wide receiver from Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Put up great numbers for the Georgia Bulldogs. Uh, and he didn't have a spectacular, like eye-popping game this past week. He had 3 catches for 78 yards, but 2 touchdowns, and the touchdown over the top late in the game that Ewers just dropped in a bucket. And Donnie did a great job, or Adai did a great job of beating the defender and just kind of outracing him. And it was a beautifully placed ball. It's a tough contested catch as well because the corner was on his hip the entire time, but it's just a great game. I know a lot of people were very high on him coming out of the transfer portal. Former UT commit Jeremy Pruitt decided he was not good enough for Tennessee. That's a true story. So yay us. But yeah, Adai Mitchell, you can go anywhere on the Texas Longhorns, but he was a big contributor this past weekend in a very big win against Alabama. I'll just go ahead and get my second helmet sticker out of the way. It's going to the Miami Hurricanes, the U, baby. I know a lot of people have been weirdly up and down on this team, especially last year with how very poorly they performed. But they come in this weekend and they get a win against a ranked Texas A&M team. They won 48-33. A&M loves loves jumping into the rankings and then immediately falling out of the rankings. That's
Mm-hmm.
the most Jimbo Fisher thing. And they can't get rid of him. That buyout is just horrendous. I saw that going around Twitter all weekend.
They can, if they really want to. I think they can,
They
because they've
can, but
got. But will they? That I mean, do they like? Do they really want to? Like, is that worth it right now? They might just wait it out a couple of years and maybe bring it down to 50 million instead of, what is it, 70 right now? I think
that's
75. So maybe they're just saying, hey, let's save 20,000 and suck it up here for a couple of years.
they can get rid of him, but gravy, they're going to be taking more to the bank than I mean,
Yeah,
75
yeah,
million to fire a coach is. I mean, you might as well just eat the bullet and pray something happens.
yeah.
With Jimbo Fisher. But yeah, that's helmet sticker number 2 goes to the U, baby.
There it is. The U. Okay, my second one is, and I like doing teams, players. I might do a player here or there, but I like doing teams, and I'm going to go with Colorado for my second one. They demolished Nebraska, a rival, on Saturday. Travis Hunter made a big impact. Again, 3 catches for 73 yards. He also had 4 tackles defensively. Xavier Weaver, it looks like a stud receiver for them. He had 10 catches, 170 yards. Shadur Sanders just keeps rolling. I mean, over 500 yards against TCU, and now almost 400 yards against Nebraska. I know Nebraska has struggled, but Matt Rule still, he had his team ready to play. I mean, Nebraska should have been in that game longer than they were. The first half was pretty evenly matched. Jeff Sims is just, I mean, he's not getting it done at quarterback for the Huskers. But yeah, for Colorado, you got to get, I mean, I feel like I might be giving it to them every week. I mean, they've got more talent than I even knew. And Chase, for me, they are bigger, on the trenches than I ever thought they would have been. I just, they sort of imposed their will, I thought, late in the game, especially on the ground with Dylan Edwards, another guy I didn't even talk about, who's a stud and decommitted from Notre Dame. So they've got kids that are legit, Power 5, high level future NFL guys all over the place. I mean, offensively, I think that's an offense that can go up against anybody and win. The defense, I thought, played better against Nebraska, and that was encouraging. I know they got not Oklahoma State, Colorado State for College Game Day. Why they're going to that game, I don't know. I mean, they got USC at home later in the season. I thought that's kind of too early there. Maybe they're planning on a Tennessee trip like they did last year, going to Knoxville twice. Maybe they definitely go to Boulder twice. I mean, I think you can hammer that one down. But yeah, Colorado has to be my second helmet sticker. They keep rolling.
Uh, Coach Prime definitely has that team rolling, probably definitely more than I expected. We will see as the schedule gets tougher what this team is really capable of doing. Like you said, Colorado State this weekend, and then after that, you've got Oregon and USC in back-to-back weeks. So very tough here in the next inside a month for Colorado, but so far they've looked impressive, and I expect them to start 3-0 after Saturday. Billy, hit us with your third helmet sticker.
Third helmet sticker, Chase. I thought about this one, but I'm going to go with the conference, the Pac-12. Right? They were perfect until Arizona lost to Mississippi State down in Starkville. Oregon overcame a 27-18 deficit. They were down to Texas Tech, and they came back and won. Washington State beat Wisconsin, who was ranked in the top 20 somehow. I don't know how, but UCLA dominated San Diego State. Utah barely beat Baylor. USC keeps rolling. Chase, coming into the season, I think we knew the Pac-12 would be good, but man, this level of dominance early on has been really impressive. I mean, just look at the quarterbacks: Caleb Williams at USC, Michael Penix at Washington, Dante Moore at UCLA is a stud. Bo Nix at Oregon. I mean, you go down the line. There's legit college football quarterbacks all across the board in the Pac-12, and that's why they've been so dominant. Now, defensively, I don't know if there's a dominant defense. I don't know that there are too many dominant defenses left in college football as a whole. So offensively, though, Chase, this might be the best offensive conference in the country. I mean, USC, I checked that game against Stanford. It was like 49-3 late. I mean, the third quarter, I was like, what in the world? So there's prolific offenses everywhere. I think what it's going to come down to with the Pac-12, if they get a team to the playoff, is defensively. But Chase, I don't know if they need it. And so early on here, the Pac-12 just keeps rolling and beating good teams. These aren't cupcakes, right? I mean, Washington State beat Wisconsin. Utah, beat Baylor. I know Baylor had that tough loss in week 1, but Arizona fought. They almost beat Mississippi State. Cal almost beat Auburn. So they're competing with teams in the SEC and other Power 5 conferences. So I'm going to go with the Pac-12 as my third helmet sticker.
The Pac-12, the commissioner, can't think of his name off the top of my head. How do you fumble that conference? Like that's so mind-boggling to me that this fun of a conference, and they're playing great this year, and they're not going to be a thing next year. It's it's mind-boggling to me how you were to go about that. But yeah, the Pac-12 I think is a very fun story because it's the last year, so we're getting just all out war. And the games are going to start to heat up once we start getting into some very fun conference play. It's going to be electric. Pac-12 conference play is going to be insane, and I'm so
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to that. My third helmet sticker, I'm going to catch a lot of flack for this probably because this team ended up losing by double digits. But Tulane is my third helmet sticker. I know at home, that Ole Miss on the road, but you don't have Pratt Daddy. Michael Pratt doesn't play, dealing with the leg injury he suffered in week 1, and you still held very close. I thought that game was a very underrated and entertaining game during the early slate. Ole Miss kind of pulled away late after a couple turnovers from Tulane, but I thought Kai Horton, the backup, I thought he played his tail off, and you saw the emotion after the game. He was crying on the sideline. That just shows that how much that meant to him, and how much emotion he was playing with. But they hung. It was 17-17 going into the fourth quarter without your returning quarterback from last year against a very tough Ole Miss team that is looking fantastic as the year goes on. So shout out Tulane. It got ugly late. Still my pick to win the American Conference. I think they will do so once Michael Pratt comes back and they start winning some more games. But yeah, shout out Tulane in New Orleans. My fourth and final helmet sticker. I mean, I love this guy so much. Love watching this man play. Uh, Sam Hartman, dude.
Mm.
I'm gonna start calling him Sam Dartman because he throws darts, dude. That's all he does. He dimes up darts. Shout out Sam Hartman and that Notre Dame team. Going in to NC State, it was a little slow because it was a rainy day. I know in the pick 'em, I think we both had Notre Dame at -7.5, and it was 7 getting late, and I'm sitting there going, oh no. I had it on my phone because we were watching Colorado, so I look up, check the Colorado score, and when I look down, it's a 21-point game. I mean, in the blink of an eye, after some Notre Dame interceptions. Sam Hartman, 15 of 24, 286, and 4 touchdowns. He just keeps getting better and better as the year goes on. And if he keeps playing like this, there's going to be a pretty sizable bronze trophy added to his collection right before he becomes an NFL starter, probably in my eyes. So yeah, Sam Hartman, my fourth helmet sticker, just looks fantastic.
How about it, man? Hartman's a stud, and Notre Dame is rolling right now, and they know they've got a Heisman quarterback, and they're cherishing it. I was talking to a couple of Notre Dame fans the other day, and the way they think, they're nervous about it, right? They know they have a golden opportunity this year, but knowing they've been stung so many times in the end, they're scared. So they're very hesitant. Notre Dame fans, I love how they're approaching this Hartman, this magical season with Sam Hartman. But Chase, for my fourth helmet sticker, I'm going another team, and I'm going with the Iowa Hawkeyes. They got a historic win over Iowa State, win number 200 for head coach Kirk Ferentz. That's a lot of wins, right? You got to be coaching for a long time at one school to get 200 wins, and he's done a good job there. I mean, obviously they really struggled last year to score. I think this hit the over. Chase, did it not? 20-13. If you want
No,
to,
it's short by it's off
oh,
by 3.5 points.
okay. I mean, we knew it was going to hit the under. I didn't
Yeah,
know if it actually did, but 20-13. And this Iowa team, Chase, I like them. I think they're more prolific than they were last year, obviously. But Cade McNamara came over from Michigan. He was a good quarterback, highly rated recruit. Iowa snags him in the portal. He didn't play very well against Iowa State, but he played well the first week, and I like him. I like what he can do potentially with the Hawkeyes. But shout out to Kirk Ferentz and the Hawkeyes, historic win. I think it goes overlooked what he's done there at Iowa, and obviously that's the Cy-Hawk matchup. Anytime you win that, you own that state for for the rest of the year. So I'm going with the historic win for Iowa as my fourth and final helmet sticker.
interesting fact. According to a source of mine, Brian Ferentz, who's Kirk's son and the current Iowa offensive coordinator, has in his contract that if he does not
Yeah, I
average
saw that. Yeah.
25 points a game, that he's out the door. And he's behind the 8 ball. So we will see how much they score moving forward because what do you have? 23 or yeah, 23 game one, 20 game two. So got to
21
start
and a
picking it
half.
up. 20, yeah, he's at 21 and a half. And Thanksgiving could be very awkward this year if them Hawkeyes don't start scoring a little bit. But
That's gonna be funny.
yeah, honestly, what a great if Kirk did that, he's like, well, I mean, I didn't fire him; he fired himself, basically. So great father figure right there in Kirk Ferentz. So moving on from our helmet stickers, it's our weekly tradition of our top tens. Now the top tens are going to look a little different this week because them Alabama Crimson, whatever you call them, they hit the floor, fold tide, baby. As a diehard UT fan, I love watching Alabama get beat. It's like Christmas. It's Christmas every day when that happens, and Santa came early so far this year. So Billy, uh, I know we're gonna have a little bit different top tens. I think we might be similar in some aspects, but I'm gonna let you lead us off here. Who is in your top 10?
All right, Chase. Obviously, the obligatory number one, the Georgia Bulldogs. They keep rolling with another cupcake win. I thought Carson Beck looked really good. It's Ball State though, so they got a challenge this weekend against South Carolina. Number 2, I'm going to go with Michigan. I'm going to keep Michigan there at number 2. I just think what they've done so far, obviously has been impressive, but more so J.J. McCarthy. He's number 1 in the country in completion percentage through 2 weeks with 87%. I mean, that's good against air, right? I mean, to just complete those 558 yards, 5 touchdowns. Really like McCarthy, and they're unbelievable on defense. I think that's probably the best defense in the country. Maybe Georgia proves me wrong there, but I think I really like what Michigan has done. This might be a surprise here, but I have moved the Texas Longhorns all the way up to number 3 in my top 10. I mean, they were just dominant, Chase. They did something that basically nobody ever does. I mean, when's the last time somebody went into Alabama in Bryant-Denny Stadium at night and beat the mighty Crimson Tide? It was Joe Burrow, LSU, right? And I think that's a good sign for Texas fans. Burrow, of course, ended up winning a national title for LSU. Texas, they were just better. I mean, they had 14, I think, quarterback pressures. They had 5 sacks against Milroe. And that defense, we talk about Quinn Ewers and that offense, but that Texas front 7 and that defense was fast, freakish. So I like Texas there at number 3. Number 4, I'm going to go Florida State. They put up 66 points against Southern Miss. Travis was good again, of course. Florida State, they're putting up 55 points per game this season. They're also averaging like 500 yards per game. I mean, this offense is unbelievable. I know, Southern Miss isn't anything to be proud of a win over Southern Miss, but they're at Boston College this week before they play Clemson. So they'll be able to, and Boston College is awful, by the way. So, I don't think Florida State will really be challenged again until their game against North Carolina. I think they play North Carolina, I want to say, if you want to check that, Chase. But Clemson, obviously, I just don't think Clemson will be much of a challenge. I think Clemson is in a downward trajectory right now. I know you got a family member there on the staff, Chase, but it's not looking good for Clemson. So I like Florida State and their chances there against Clemson. If they do play North Carolina this year, that would be the next test. I don't really see them being challenged much in the ACC this season. So I'm going to go Florida State number 4. I'll go number 5, the Ohio State Buckeyes. They rolled over Youngstown State. Marvin Harrison Jr., 160 yards and a pair of touchdowns. I think they had 482 yards, something crazy. They got Western Kentucky this weekend before they play Notre Dame in South Bend. So I'm excited for that Notre Dame matchup. Number 6, I'm going to go with Penn State. Penn State has won by at least 3 scores in each of its first 2 games. Drew Aller, is very similar to J.J. McCarthy. He's completing 78% of his passes. So this Penn State offense, I think, is underrated. And I think that, they've got a great running back. I think this Penn State team is someone to keep an eye on, especially in that Big Ten race, right? I think they can beat Ohio State. Now, can they beat Michigan? Are they physical enough? We'll see. But I like Penn State there at number 6. USC, I was thinking about having USC higher. The competition's been bad, and the defense, especially in the first couple of weeks, hasn't been great. But they're damn good. I mean, they're 3-0, and if you didn't see them play on Saturday, it was even more impressive than the 56-10 final score. I mean, they're averaging almost 60 points per game, Chase, and we know what Caleb Williams can do. He's still the best quarterback in the country. Zachariah Branch, I mean, that kid can fly. He's an absolute weapon for the Trojans. So I like USC at number 7. Number 8, I'll go Washington. I like Washington a lot. Another team I was tempted to move up because they've looked really dominant. Michael Penix has put up monster numbers. He's already thrown for over 850 yards and 8 touchdowns. I mean, that's unbelievable. I know a lot of these teams are cupcakes, but still, that's impressive. They got Michigan State in East Lansing this weekend. Obviously, Michigan State, with all the Mel Tucker news, dealing with that. That'll be interesting. So they'll have a little bit of a prove-it weekend this weekend. I ended up putting Alabama at 9. I think Texas is one of the top 3-4 teams in the country. I think they'll be in the playoff. and I just think they lost to a better team. I don't think Texas is, eons better than Alabama, but I still have Alabama in the top 10. I think they have an outside shot at making the playoff. They got to win out, of course, but I still think this Bama team is really good. They've been spoiled at quarterback, Chase, with Tua, Jalen Hurts, Mac Jones. Milroe is talented. He's athletic. He's big. He's strong, but he made a couple of huge mistakes in that Texas game that you just can't really respond from. So if he cleans it up, I think Alabama's a really damn good team. But if he keeps making those mistakes, I think this could be an 8-4, 9-3 team. He's got to clean it up, and he's the guy. They didn't play another quarterback, so he's the guy that Bama fans are staring, right down Broadway there. So I got Bama at 9. I'll go Utah at 10. I was tempted to put Tennessee at 10 or Notre Dame at 10. But Chase, look at what Utah has done. They've played arguably the toughest schedule in the country. They played a Florida Gators team. I know Florida's not great, but it's still Florida. They got freaks everywhere. And they beat a pissed off Baylor team coming off a loss to Texas State at home. So I love what Utah's done with their third string quarterback, right? Wait till Cam Rising comes back, and Bryson Barnes. I think this tells you the talent level on Utah, right? Their third string quarterback is 2-0 with wins over Florida and Baylor. I like Utah a lot. I put them at 10. I would have Tennessee and Notre Dame right behind at 11 and 12 there. I just had to put Utah, especially with the way if Tennessee would have won going away against Austin Peay, I probably would have had Tennessee at 10. But now all of a sudden I'm sitting there thinking, Tennessee a little dangerous going down to Gainesville. So we'll see. I would still expect them to win. I'm sure we'll get to that in predictions, but that's my top 10, Chase, just to roll through it again. Not too many surprises. Georgia at number 1, Michigan 2, Texas 3, Florida State 4, Ohio State 5, Penn State 6, USC 7, Washington 8, Alabama 9, and Utah at number 10.
I love Utah at 10. I love Utah. I don't know, something about that logo and that color scheme is just so
Ooh.
eye-popping to me. It's great. The Rose Bowl ones they wore last year. I'm excited for Cam Rising to come back and get that team going. Another great team in the Pac-12. That's going to be dangerous this year. I'm not going to lie. We have pretty differing top 10s, and I'm excited to get your take on mine. Starting off with number 1, I'll just go to number 1 and number 2, Georgia, Michigan. Pretty simple there. Although Georgia hasn't impressed me as much as I thought they would, I'll give you a little quick pick'em preview. Georgia's 0-2 this year against the spread. They have not covered a game yet, and South Carolina's a pretty hefty number this weekend. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. Michigan, I think J.J. McCarthy caught a lot of flack last year, especially after that playoff performance that wasn't very great against TCU. I think he's looked a lot better. Their running backs are they're getting a slow start, but with a run game, I'd much rather my run game play outstanding late in the season than early in the season. Just kind of get them going a little bit against higher defenses. But number 3, I'm gonna keep with Florida State. I know Texas just beat Alabama. It was a very good game and it was a very hard thing to do to beat them in Tuscaloosa, but I just love Florida State, what they're doing. I thought the week 1 performance against LSU was just very dominant. And they honestly could have beat LSU by more if the first half wasn't as slow as it was for Florida State and Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis, keep going, baby. We got a future on you for the Heisman. Keep pushing. Joe Milton's kind of played himself out of the future already, which sucks, but we'll talk about that more a little later. Number 4, I have Texas. Great performance, like we've talked about against Alabama. Quinn Ewers looked great. The defense looked great. And I'm very excited to see what they have going on, especially with the Red River rivalry, tongue twister, coming up, looming against an Oklahoma team that I thought has played very solid this year so far. Nothing too impressive, but, they're solid, and I think they're going to give Texas a very good game. So that's another game to look forward to here in the next month. Number 5, I have USC. I thought USC's offense, like you mentioned before, they're pumping. They're playing like nobody's ever played before on offense, which is not exactly true. But Caleb Williams is the best quarterback in the country. He's probably the best prospect we've had in quite some time. I know recently his dad came out and said he was going to come back to USC if the situation in the NFL wasn't great. I don't think that's true. I think however the draft order falls, I think he's going to the NFL. He's not going to pass that up. So Arizona's probably getting another great quarterback from Lincoln Riley's system. Number 6, I have Washington. I thought Washington has looked very good. Week 1 against the Boise State team, who's really solid, they just dominated. And Michael Penix has put up big numbers. That team is very good going forward. Another Pac-12 team that once conference play starts up, I'm going to be very interested to see. They honestly, if they dominate, maybe not dominate, but if they pull off some big wins in conference play, we're talking about them maybe playoff contention, maybe sneaking in a little bit at that four spot again. Number 7, I have Penn State. I like what Drew Aller is doing over there with the Nittany Lions. I think Penn State is a very slept-on Big Ten team, and I think they're going to make a big push to actually win the conference. Ohio State coming up soon, in a game with Michigan State coming up soon. Even though Michigan State has a lot of stuff going on, they're still a decent team. Number 8, I have Ohio State. I don't know about you, Billy, but Ohio State has struggled. They've actually switched quarterbacks. Uh, I think they did it either before the Youngstown State game or during the Youngstown State game. But we have a
Hmm.
new quarterback for the Ohio State Buckeyes. They haven't impressed me. They have not been great. They've been kind of sloppy. The offense hasn't really put up big numbers. I know Marvin Harrison Jr. Had a monster first quarter this past weekend, but it's Youngstown State. I think right now Michigan is going to be a far and away favorite in that game uh, toward the end of the year. Yeah, but Ohio State, they've just been slow. They've been slow, and we'll see if they can pick it up a little bit with a new starting quarterback at the helm. Number 9, I have Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's looked
Ooh.
pretty solid this year. Sam Hartman in the backfield he's been playing. I think you could argue he's the second best quarterback uh, right now in the country. Him and Jordan Travis, to me, kind of are neck and neck. I know Jordan Travis is putting up a little bit bigger numbers, um, but I think Notre Dame's looked great against a Navy team that it's Navy, but NC State's a little bit better competition, and they still won that game pretty comfortably. They have Ohio State in a couple weeks, like you mentioned before. I think Notre Dame beats Ohio State. And I think here in a couple weeks they will be inside my top 5. And then number 10, another thing that I'll catch flack for, Tennessee at number 10. I'm big on don't drop us behind you even though you lost the game and we won. I know we won ugly, but at the end of the season, when talking about wins, they don't ask how you did. They just ask how many you had this season. So ugly win against Austin Peay, but the game itself was just wild. Lightning delay wouldn't let us run through the tee. Vibes were off. Austin Peay, their head coach is a nut job, and I kind of like it. They were. I mean, I've never seen it. That offense was motioning everybody. I mean, at one point they had
Yeah.
4 linemen in a swinging gate, basically. So Tennessee, I'm not going to punish my team yet. All that being said, kind of nervous going into Gainesville. We can talk about that here in just a minute with our pick and predictions. But yeah, I think Alabama's right outside my top 10. Uh, it's a loss to a really good Texas team, but I'm not scared of Alabama this year. I don't know if you got the same vibe off the game as I did, but I think Milrow is very athletic, but I don't. His decision making sometimes is mind-boggling, and I don't think
Yeah.
he's the most accurate quarterback. His deep ball is great, but if he's not running and throwing a deep ball, then he's basically ineffective in my eyes.
Hmm.
So just to run it down again, you've got the Bulldogs of Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, Texas, USC, Washington, Penn State, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Tennessee Volunteers. That recaps our top 10. I love doing our top 10s, and I can't wait because midseason is going to be crazy because we will start having crazy amounts of changes in this top 10. And then I think I have a couple ideas for Billy, when they start revealing the playoff rankings, I think we might have a little playoff ranking to discuss a little bit. A
Oh,
bracket
I like
going,
it.
so got some ideas cooking. But Billy, it's time for my favorite segment that we do. I don't know about you, but Pick'em is just the best. It's the best. I love discussing games, over unders, money lines, spreads. Let me find our Pick'em record real quick. Billy, you had a bounce back weekend, including, once I get this up, a lock of the week win from
Boom.
Billy
There
Derek.
we
Notre
go.
Dame -7.5 lock of the week. I texted you right after it hit. I was very excited for you because I had 7.5 as well, and very nervous going to the end of the game. But Billy, you went 8-10 this past weekend to bring your record up to 26-27. You're all one game is all you need this coming weekend to get back to even, and I'm very excited about that. I didn't have a great weekend. I went 8-9, which I mean, depending how you look at it, maybe a good weekend. Still, I added another lock of the week win, Texas +7, hook 'em baby. So 2-1 for my locks of the week, 25-21 overall. So we're getting to the nitty gritty. And this is with this small amount of games for this weekend. That's a good chance for both of us to kind of either absolutely kill our records or create a big gap in the win column. I will flip my page over real quick here. To start us off, we have LSU on the road at Mississippi State,
Hmm.
-9.5 point favorite with the over under set at 54.5. Billy, I will say this: 54% of the public is on State to cover 9.5. LSU is 9-1 on the over unders this year or in their last 10 games. And they're also 4-1 head to head against Mississippi State in their last five matchups. So, with all that being said, Billy, give us your prediction for LSU Mississippi State uh, this weekend.
Interesting game. I think for LSU, they're ready to make a statement. You know, they want to come down to Starkville and destroy Mississippi State and make a statement saying we're still a playoff team, right? We're still a contender. You know, we can still win the West. And it's a sneaky game, right? Early kick might be a little sleepy. You know, maybe some of the guys are tired, but I love LSU. LSU big in this game. I think they're ready to prove a point. I know Mississippi State's at home. I know it's an early kick, but Brian Kelly knows how to motivate a team, and I think he's going to have his guys ready to go down there and dominate Mississippi State. I got LSU big, easy cover at -9.5. Hit the over too, 54.5, because I think Mississippi State's going to score too. But I think this could be something like a 42-21, 42-24 type game where there's a lot of points, but LSU wins handily.
I like that prediction there. I think LSU is a very pissed off team, and they kind of showed that this past weekend. They played Grambling, so not the biggest competition in the world, but this is gonna be a tough game. Mississippi State with Will Rogers, they've looked not terrible this season. They're 2-0, so it's a great start for them. This is kind of their first major competition. Uh, and I don't like betting the public because most of your money you make is when you fade the public. So I'm going to join you and I'm going to fade the public. Give me LSU -9.5. And I think the over is pretty easy here because I think LSU, like I said, 9-1 in the overs in their last 10 games. And Mississippi State is going to air raid it out. And I think it's going to be a high scoring game, but I think it's going to be 9.5 is it's pretty reasonable for the LSU Tigers on the road. So yeah, I think it's an easy over. The 9.5, I don't know if it's going to be. I think I can see more of a 13-point win, 14-point win. Now if they can you know put a bottle on Will Rogers, I think it's a very big blowout win. But I think it's going to be a good game. It's a good early slate game. It's probably the only decent early slate game for conference play. So yeah, LSU -9.5, over 54.5. Billy, game number two, we have Kansas State at Missouri. State is a 5-point favorite. with the over/under set at 48. Now Kansas State 7-3 against the spread in their last 10 games. Missouri, against no competition whatsoever so far this year, is 0-2 against the spread. MTSU put up a dogfight against them this past weekend and covered pretty easily. So Billy, where are you kind of leaning here for Kansas State, Missouri, uh,
This
during the
this
early
is
slate?
this is brutal. I mean, just a brutal game to try to read, get a read on what might happen. Kansas State, yeah, they've looked good, but we've only played 1 week. Missouri looked awful against MTSU. MTSU almost beat them. So I don't know. A lot of times you see teams improve the most from week 1 to week 2. And Missouri's got weapons. They got Luther Burden. They've got a good defense under Coach Drink. I'm going to go with Missouri. Let Brady cook. Brady cook. I like Missouri here. +5. Don't know if they'll win. I think they can win, but I like them to cover if they don't. The +5, I think it'll be a tight game. And in terms of the over/under, I know it's set at 48 right now. God, this is tough. You know what? Screw it. I'm going to go under. I don't see either of these teams being super prolific offensively. So I'll go Missouri +5 and the under 48.
I'm gonna follow you on the under, but I will say this: Missouri has looked not very great, and Kansas
Yeah.
State hasn't really played anybody. So I'm gonna go Kansas State. I think big. I think Missouri. I don't know. I can't get a read on them yet, but struggled out of the gates this season to start 2-0. I mean, it's not awful, but I think Kansas State's coming in to a very weird and downtrodden Missouri team, and I think they pull off a big victory. So give me Kansas State -5, and the under of 48. Like you said, I don't see this game being that high scoring. Um, Missouri probably puts up 14, 21, maybe. If Missouri gets to 21, we might be kind of pooched when it comes to the under. But we shall see. Yeah, I like Kansas State on the road here at -5. And then Billy, I know I mentioned this earlier in our top 10, uh, our top tens. We have South Carolina at Georgia. Georgia coming in at a 27.5 point favorite with the over under set at 40 or 54.5. Now, I lied. My stat was completely wrong. Both teams are 1-1 against the spread this season. Georgia covered week 1, didn't cover this past weekend. And South Carolina didn't cover against North Carolina, but did cover this past weekend. And both teams, if you look at this matchup over the last 7 years, they've actually alternated with covers in the last seven. So 7 years ago,
Wow.
South Carolina covered, then Georgia covered, then South Carolina covered. I think we're coming off of a South Carolina cover of last year. It wasn't very close, but South Carolina did cover. So Billy, Georgia -27.5. Where are you kind of leaning toward in this one?
27's a lot. And Georgia, you know, they'll put up points, and I'm going to take the over here pretty easily too, over 54.5. But 27.5, that's a lot. And I like South Carolina's offense. I know they can't protect Spencer Rattler, and that is not good news heading into Athens. Um, but give me South Carolina. I like Beamer. I like what they're doing. I think they're physical. So they won't be dominated at the line of scrimmage. And 27's a lot. That's almost 4 touchdowns. So give me Carolina to cover. Beamer ball, baby. I think they'll get some special teams, maybe unique special teams plays to keep them in the game. Georgia obviously wins and going away, but I like them +27.5 over 54.5. I think there's gonna be a lot of points in that one.
Actually gonna follow you, Billy, at South Carolina +27.5, with the over at 54.5. I think it is a road game for South Carolina, but that's a big spread for any SEC matchup. And like I've said, Georgia hasn't really impressed me just yet. I think, we're getting there to where, they're starting to get into conference play. But the Cupcake schedule is just really hard for me to kind of, look at them and go, man, that team is so dominant because you're not playing anybody. The toughest schedule is us, and that's 2 games left in the season. So, I mean, they're just kind of waltzing through this season.
Hmm.
And when I see schedules like that, I think, hey, some team is going to sneak in and cover a couple games. They're going to give up some covers just because they're not really, they're not playing the greatest competition. And when you get games like that, you're not really going to kill everybody. You're not going to blow everybody out in
Hmm.
college football. And this is a game where I don't see them blowing South Carolina out. I think they win. In fact, I probably know they win, but 27.5 is a very big number. So give me South Carolina as much as I don't like saying Beamer ball, baby. And I think over 54.5. I hope South Carolina scores here for the over's sake, but like you said, that offensive line, I don't think it could protect anybody. I'm pretty sure they just threw a slice of Swiss cheese out there and said, "Hey, block this defense." Uh, so it's going to be interesting. That Georgia defense could feast, or we could see something crazy happen. I expect to see an onside kick like we saw against North Carolina, maybe a couple onside kicks for this game. But yeah, we're following each other there. And then Billy, I want you to preview this if you can, because it's your Vanderbilt Commodores on the road at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, UNLV. Vandy coming in as it's a small 4-point spread, but I think I'll go ahead and throw my pick out because I want you to preview this, Billy. So I'm taking Vanderbilt -4. Give me the under. So Vanderbilt -4 and the under for me, and I'm excited to hear your preview.
I agree. I will take Vandy -4 and the under. Um, Although the over is tempting, Vandy's offense is dangerous against really anybody other than maybe Georgia on their schedule. Um, I think UNLV is a team that I could potentially see with their running game give Vanderbilt some problems. Vandy's defense has been awful. Their tackling issues continue. I mean, all 3 years Clarkley has been here, they've had severe tackling issues. So against UNLV, that's something to watch. If they can stop the run, this could this could be an easy way more than just a 4-point win. But I mean, I see why. I've heard a lot of people say, "How is this only a 4-point line?" Well, I mean, look at Vandy. I mean, look at them last week against their only Power Five competition so far. Um, and look at how they fared. They were not good. They were sloppy. They made too many mistakes. I think they will cover easily in this game. They might even win by a couple of scores, just because UNLV is not going to be able to consistently get stops defensively on Vandy's offense. But yeah, give me Vandy -4, and I'm looking for AJ Swan in this offense to be cleaner. Vandy just needs to do the little things right, and as long as they do that, they'll be fine. But they have not proven an ability to, to dominate a team for 4 quarters. They just haven't. Even Alabama A&M, gave them a challenge there in that, especially in that first quarter. So, yeah, Chase looking for Vanderbilt to dominate UNLV and get back on track before their game against Ray Davis in Kentucky next week, which a lot of Vandy fans are excited for.
I think I too am excited for that Kentucky game. Uh, Billy, you've kind of turned me into a small time Vandy supporter. So I'm gonna back you here with Vanderbilt -4 and the under. Because UNLV's quarterback, UNLV got destroyed by Michigan this past weekend. He only put up 100
Mm-hmm.
yards, 10 for 19, 100 yards. So I think Vandy covers easy. Uh, and leaning right now, leaning toward my lock of the week. In my head, but another game that and Tennessee, Florida, Tennessee on the road in the swamp, coming in as a 7-point favorite with the over set at 58.5. Billy, I'm gonna let you go ahead and lead this one off. Where are you thinking for Tennessee and Florida?
This is going to be an interesting game. Tennessee, of course, looked looked awful against Austin P. I don't really know what was going on with Milton and those receivers. There were a lot of drops. There were some bad throws by Milton. If they play like that, they're going to lose. I mean, they cannot play like that and beat Florida. Um, and Florida's at home. It is going to be an electric environment. Prime time, Saturday night in Gainesville. And I think it's a blue out at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. I like the spot for Florida. I like the fact that they, are coming off a big confidence boosting win, and Tennessee is sort of, looking for answers at quarterback right now. And now you gotta have Joe Milton go in Gainesville and beat the Gators on the road in the swamp. I mean, that's a tough ask for anybody. So I think Tennessee probably wins. I could easily see Florida pulling off the upset. I really could. And I was very tempted to pick the upset, but I'm gonna give Florida the 7 + 7. And you got to go over. Tennessee's playing in the game. You got to go over. I think there's potential. I think this goes one of two ways. Tennessee just blows them out of the water, and their defense, Florida's defense, just can't stop them. Or Tennessee makes mistakes. Milton throws a couple of interceptions, and Florida stays in the game. Even then, they still might not win. But I could easily see Florida winning this game. I'm not going to pick the upset. I'm not going to be that stupid. I mean, let's be real. Tennessee's not losing this game, and if they do, they got some real issues because Florida is bad. Florida's bad. So give me Tennessee or give me Florida +7. But I'll take the over. I think Florida will hang in there. And Joe Milton, I don't trust him yet. I just don't. So give me Florida to cover, but Tennessee to win.
This game means so much in this early season. Tennessee has not won in Florida, in the swamp, since we were both 3 years old. 2003, 20 years ago, is the last time Tennessee has won a game in the swamp. Florida
Hmm.
has won 8 out of the last 10 games in this matchup. I hate Florida. I will always hate Florida. Florida is my dislike for Florida is over at my dislike of Alabama. I think a lot of Tennessee fans are kind of like that now because of just how unfair it's been against Bama. And even though Florida's won 8 of the last 10, some of the games have been very competitive. Oh, this game scares me so much. I'm gonna quickly recap Austin P because it was a terrible performance, and I know a lot of people are in panic mode, but it's not that bad. Joe looked very slow to start, but kind of eased into it. The receivers couldn't catch a cold in the middle of winter. Oh, here we go. You know what, Billy? I'm thinking of this now, and you know what? Tennessee is gonna win big, baby. I got the shirt on. We're drinking from the glasses of victory. I'm revving for this game. Tennessee, lock of the week, -7. Move it up to 21, not that bad. Move it up to 13 and a half. We're going into the swamp. We're eating fried gator. Sunbelt Billy can't compete. He's about to get canned because he's awful. This team can't handle Joe Milton. And I think Joe's going to put on a show. The best quote from our quarterback is, I do not lose in the state of Florida. And he doesn't lose in the state of Florida. Tennessee, lock of the week, -7. Give me the over. We're going to go in there and we're going to eat fried gator and we're going to kill him. I'm so excited. Lock of the week. Lock it in. Let's go.
Lock it in, baby. I like it.
All right, a little calm down. Billy, your lock of the week real quick before we get out of here.
Lock of the week, LSU -9.5. Lock it in. I love LSU in this matchup. I don't really know exactly why, other than Brian Kelly's a great motivator. He's going to have his guys ready to go down there and dominate Mississippi State in Starkville. I don't think Mississippi State is really that. I mean, they're good, but I don't know. First year head coach. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm going LSU -9.5. Lock of the week.
LSU -9.5 lock of the week. Tennessee -7 lock of the week. That's going to do it for us, baby. Go Vols. Florida's not ready. Fried gator this weekend. Cook it up because we're going to do it. We're going to kill them. Let's go. We will catch you guys next week for a recap of a boring week 3. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. I think we're working on getting that page created. Follow us on Facebook. Subscribe to the YouTube channel because we're the Kings, baby. No one touches us. We're the Kings. Our teams are going to go in this weekend and both get W's. We'll catch you guys next week.